G'day guys, I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. But before we get started, I really want to just give a massive thank you to Lady Nevermore and Catherine Gordon for becoming some of our first patrons. Seriously guys, it means so much to me. Thank you so goddamn much. And if you follow our Instagram pages, you've probably already seen these, but if you look on your screen right now, you'll see two fantastic pieces of artwork that we've gotten. One of them is by Lucky Chan on Instagram, who will be linked in the description. The other one is by our senpai on Instagram, who will be linked in the description. These are absolutely fantastic, and as much as I have in my head how everything looks for Duskbowl, I love seeing your guys' interpretations on how things look. For instance, in our senpai's artwork, I've always felt that eye people look a certain way, and they took that idea and just went like full demonic with it, and it looks freaking awesome. So yeah, please go follow those artists, and if you have any of your own artwork, please send it in to us, and I will be more than happy to put it here on our page. Now, let's get on to the episode.
She watches from the water, little boys and girls she takes. She'll creep into your room at night. The Lady of the Lake. Duskbowl's boogeyman seemed to be where I'd find answers. After all, the only clue I had was scrawled on a newspaper about her. I needed more information on her, and that wasn't going to be a cakewalk. I didn't feel safe just strolling down the street and asking people. For one, the sheriff's department might still be looking for me. And not to mention that eye thing was still out there. No, I'll need to be clever about this. I reasoned that the town library might have something on the Lady of the Lake. You know, archived newspapers and, I can only assume that is where Jaime got her clipping. But I couldn't just stroll in. But at the same time, I wasn't too keen on breaking into another place. I must have looked like a right creep, my hood up over my head and sulking around the library. But hey, if looking like a Wes Craven villain was what I needed to do to get my answers, I'd be willing to dress up as Freddy Krueger. I was waiting for a kid to walk past. I only had a 50 in my wallet, but I'm sure any kid worth their weight would be willing to do something as simple as print stuff for a 50. But I had my reservations. That was a lot of money. All I had left in my name, in fact. I thought about breaking it for a 20, but I couldn't risk the kid turning their nose up. I was loitering there for a good few hours, making sure to keep my face hidden whenever I saw a cop car drive past. I didn't know if they were specifically looking for me, but I couldn't be too sure. Eventually, this school bully-looking kid rode past on his scooter. Not the best choice. He looked like the kind of boy that would have bullied me in high school. Oh well, better than nothing. Hey, kid. I ushered him over, but kept my voice low. He was really standoffish at first. Understandable, I guess. I must have looked like a pedo the way I was standing. No, it's alright. I don't want to hurt you. I just need you to do me a favor.
Oh yeah? Like what?
The kid was making sure to keep his distance. That was alright. I didn't need him to think I was a saint. I pointed to the library. You see that building over there? I want you to go in and print off anything and everything you can find on the Lady of the Lake. The boy made a puzzled face.
The ghost story? What's in it for me?
Ghost story? Did this kid not know that the King Shot killings really happened? I chuckled a little at that. I pulled out the 50 and waved it in front of him. All this is yours if you do this teeny tiny thing. Come on, for you it's a win! The kid thought for a moment.
Alright, you got a deal. Creep.
He got back on his scooter and rode the short distance to the glass sliding door. I watched him until he disappeared inside. And now we wait. The kid was in there for a fair while, but I couldn't afford the risk of going to the library and checking on him. All I could do was wait. I let my eyes wander. You know, as you do when you're bored. I've never been the most patient person. There wasn't a whole lot to look at. This was Duskbowl, after all. Some guy walking his dog, lady on her phone, just everyday people. But then I felt that hum in my head again, and caught a glimpse of an person standing across the road from me. It was in broad daylight, and it was just staring at me. I could feel my fingers locking up again as my head began to fill with that god-awful hum. Jesus, it was staring at me. Why was it staring at me? Why wasn't anyone else looking at it? Suddenly, I felt a hard yank on my arm that tore my gaze away from the thing.
I said, here's your stupid Lady of the Lake stuff, miss.
The kid was clearly annoyed. How long had he been trying to get my attention? Thanks, kid. Here you go. I was stumbling over my words, and my hands were trembling as I held out the note. It felt like my brain was rebooting. I had learned from last time I wasn't going to look back at the creature. The kid dropped the large pile of documents at my feet and snatched the money out of my hand. I looked as my dinner for the next few nights rode away. I picked up the documents and staggered away. Once I got somewhere safe, I sat down and began poring over the documents. The top pile was a lot of useless rubbish. Common spooky stories about her, pages of rhymes, etc. Just horror movie crap. I reckon I audibly sighed when I saw Spooky Tales from Duskbowl on one of the pages. I had to expect this, though. I hadn't exactly given that poor kid any real direction. I basically made him Google Darth Vader and print out every result. But once I got through the bullshit, that's when things became interesting. There were newspaper clippings, very old accounts, everything. How the hell did he get this stuff? No matter. I had it now, and that was all that mattered. I took particular notice of one clipping in particular. It was a front-page story. Most of the information was blacked out because, of course, it was, but underneath the grainy black-and-white picture of Lake Kingshot, one word. A word I'd seen before. Companist. Companist. I said under my breath. What was that? Now I wish I had another 50 so that I could get some kid to look up the word. Oh well, I had to work with what I knew. Obviously, companist was important, and clearly it was in some way related to Lake Kingshot, but that lake backs onto the Neverwood, and I'll be damned if I went in there alone. I needed someone who knew what they were doing. Then I remembered. The Neverwood Exploration Club. I opened Marshall's journal and flipped through the pages until I found where he mentioned the NEC. They used to meet up at Garrett Hall, but the sheriff's department kept arresting them. Why? It seemed that Garrett Hall was my next port of call. But before I closed the journal, I found myself poring over the words. Marshall really did have a way of sounding like a show pony. I know I teared up in that moment, but I couldn't help but chuckle. I never had many friends. Hell, even when I got my first job at Duskbowl FM, nobody there even acknowledged my existence. But Marshall did. He'd hang out with me. He'd play games with me. We talked about movies, music, you name it. When he wasn't on air, he was really kind. I was trying to run away from my problems when I moved to Duskbowl, but I really didn't consider the possibility of ending up with someone who actually liked me here. I stared at the journal, tears still welling. "I'll find you," I whispered.
G'day guys, it's me, Harry, and I just wanted to say thank you for listening to this episode. Duskbowl is, well, it's my passion project, and it just means so much to me that you support it. And if you'd like to support Duskbowl more, feel free to like, subscribe, and support us on Patreon. Anything at all that you could give would mean the absolute world. Your support really does mean everything to me. And I just want to apologise if you can hear trains and cars in the background. I've recently moved, so the whole setup is different. For a lot of you, this is going to be the first time you've actually heard Duskbowl, because obviously you didn't have the biggest following in the start. There are the tapes that if people new coming in want to listen to, feel free. They will give you a lot of context, I feel. I want to thank Romnex so much. I feel like a lot of you will be coming from her channel. Without her, I don't think Duskbowl would be getting the traction that it's getting at the moment. It really does mean a lot that she helped me out, and she is amazing. Please, if you aren't a subscriber of hers, please go to subscribe to her. She's absolutely fantastic. She does amazing horror narrations, and it is a crime she doesn't have a larger following than she does. If you want more Duskbowl, we're going to be uploading fortnightly, and on top of that, on our Instagram page, we actually have like a BARG found footage type story that's going on that you can go and enjoy, which I'm sure you'll get quite a lot out of. So that's on our Instagram page, which will be linked in the description. I'd also like to start having Duskbowl artwork competitions. So if you guys have any fan art that you have of Duskbowl, send it through to the Duskbowl email address, and then the winner of that competition for that week or fortnight will then have their artwork platformed both on our YouTube channel and on our Instagram page. Ash was voiced by the amazing Caroline Fester, and the always absolutely fantastic music that Duskbowl just wouldn't have an identity without is by Samuel Burke, a longtime friend of mine, and please, please, please go follow some of his music. I'll be linking some of his bands down in the description. And lastly, if you want to have an Australian accent in any of your projects, I'm a voice actor myself, so if you want to have me on board, feel free to hit me up on my FIVERR, which I'll also be linking in the description.